Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, we're here for this audio-video simulcast episode at Yankee Stadium, where the Yankees just took 2 out of 3 against the Texas Rangers. We'll give you the full detail of the breakdown. Had a little rain delay, delayed things, but the Yankees did take 2 out of 3. We'll kind of wrap that series up for you, as well as touch upon the series before that, where the Yankees were up in the Rogers Center in Toronto. Just kind of the important takeaways of that series, as Toronto will come in here next, as the Yankees stand at 20-8. Obviously 12 games over 500, doing very well this season. And we'll also look at Gleyber Torres. Is he back? We kind of been wondering about him for the past couple of seasons. Had some great moments so far here in 2022. So we'll kind of look at him a little closer. And as you might be noticing, been a lot of barking between players and managers and umpires and what's going on, all the craziness. I'll give you my take on that. But before we get into that, if you haven't done it yet, there's a Section 420 Talkin Yankees now available via the podcast. So yes, you like seeing me on YouTube, you like seeing me on TV, but get more content during the week that's only available for podcast subscribers. So wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Google, or Apple, wherever you go, look for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, and get additional content throughout the week. So you get wrap-ups, you get opinions, you get random stories, or just random things that come to head. Again, remember, Section 420 Talkin Yankees. So let's get into it. So the Texas Rangers came into town a couple of games under 500, and Mother Nature injected herself a little bit on this one. So the opening Friday game was postponed due to rain. They were thinking about moving it to Saturday, but then Saturday also got rained out. So they decided to do a doubleheader on Sunday, and luckily both teams happened to be off on Monday, so they figured, let that be for Game 3. So luckily the Yankees or Texas Rangers don't have to come back here sometime in a couple of months from now. It just worked out that way. So into the game, as I mentioned before, the Rangers were a couple games under 500, and if you remember, during this offseason, spent a lot of money bringing in Corey Seager on a $325 million contract. Also invested $175 million in Marcus Semien. So a lot of money invested for middle infielders who haven't been producing well this season. So it just goes to show sometimes you're better off not signing somebody. But for the game itself, Garrett Cole was coming in. Now his previous 2 starts were brilliant. A total of 12 2/3 shutout innings. Kind of put some whispers aside that maybe he can't pitch without split attack and so forth. Had back-to-back brilliant performances, so kind of put those anxieties to a side. And coming this game, he kind of picked up just where he left off. First 6 innings were a pitcher duel between him and opposing pitcher Dave Dunning. 0-0 up until the 6th inning, where eventually Stanton got the Yankees on the board with a sacrifice fly. And in the 7th inning, eventually Cole would finally be touched up. So at that point, he had gone 18 innings of shutout baseball. Overall, he was brilliant in the game, but did serve up a home run to Cole Calhoun. So, as I would like to call it, Cole-on-Cole violence. Tied the game at that point 1-1. And then from there, Loizaga and Clay Holmes took the Yankees into the 9th inning. And it was the bottom of the 9th where the Yankees finally put the game away, thanks to a Gleyber Torres home run, which barely got over the right field wall. And the Yankees had a 2-1 victory in the opening game. And of course, the opposing manager, Chris Woodward, the former Met, kind of complained a little bit that Yankee Stadium's a little league field. A lot of this happened when the Yankee Stadium first opened up in 2009. A lot of opposing managers and players complained how so easy that right field wall, the home runs go over that. I remember Johnny Damon used to feast on that all the time. The ball would just go right over into the first row. Derek Jeter, a lot of opposite field home runs also just barely go over that wall. It is what it is in that case, but again, if you're an opposing manager, hey, look, your team could also hit home runs over that wall. So to go to complain like that is a little bit Bush League. And it was good for Gleyber Torres. That was actually his 3rd kind of big Yankee moment this season, and we'll get into that a little later in the episode about Gleyber Torres. But again, a walk-off victory for the Yankees, and they took the first game 2-1. So situation where you're not really happy that the offense didn't show up, but again, you are happy that Garrett Cole then had a 3rd strong performance in a row, 3rd strong start in a row. Again, only gave up 1 run, struck out 10. Again, very dominating. Again, this is good news for the Yankees if you could just keep rolling like that. You're just bummed out that the offense didn't do much other than the Stanton sacrifice fly and the Gleyber Torres home run to end the game. So they took a little break, took a little shower. Maybe some guys in the shower, we don't know that. Then in the the second game was Jordan Montgomery lined up against Glenn Otto. And early on, Stanton gave the Yankees a lead with a 2-run home run, crushed the ball 425 feet. It's just supposedly it's Stanton. For some reason, Stanton always hits 425-foot home runs. They measure that, and sometimes he does that a lot. So put the Yankees ahead 2-0. Jordan Montgomery was good for the most part. Was able to pitch into the 6th inning. Eventually tied out a little bit. Did give up 1 earned run. And then Michael King came in for the Yankees. And now Michael King for the Yankees so far this season has been brilliant. Been one of the bright spots for the Yankees in that bullpen. But unfortunately, this didn't have this game. Was probably the one bad, blip he's had so far this entire season. Uncorked a wild pitch with, let a run in, which tied the game at 2-2, and then eventually he actually would give up a pinch hit home run that would put the Rangers ahead 4-2, and obviously so he coughed up the lead for the Yankees. Again, it's really the first time he really screwed up for the Yankees this entire season, so let him go on that one. But again, it's the second game in a row where the Yankee offense didn't give you much outside that Stanton home run. They did load the bases up in the bottom of the 7th inning with Aaron Judge at the plate, and you figure, oh, great, he's going to get a big hit here or something. But unfortunately, he did fly out to left, and that was pretty much it for the Yankee offense, and they kind of just whisked away into the late afternoon with a 4-2 loss. So they ended up splitting the doubleheader. So overall for the day, again, not terribly. At least you win one, lose one. You get a strong start from Cole, but again, both games the offense didn't show up at all. You get kind of concerned with that because the Yankee offense had been rolling up to that point. And you got to give credit to the Texas pitching, was very good, but still at home, the Yankee offense should have been mustering up a little bit more than that. Which takes us to Game 3, which will be the game that would decide who would win the series. And the first two games will split 1-1 with the doubleheader. Now for the Yankees, they had Nestor Cortes on the mound, and it'll just be a continuation of the fairy tale season so far he's been having here in 2022. Now his previous start up in Toronto wasn't that good. Wasn't terrible, but it wasn't the Nestor we've seen in the starts before that. Only able to go 4 innings, gave up 4 walks, issued a home run to Matt Chapman. Again, only gave up 1 earned run, so it wasn't like garbage. But again, it wasn't the Nestor we had seen before that. Well, he would make up for in this game and then some, taking a no-hitter into the 8th inning. Probably his best start so far in his Yankee career. Again, remember down in Camden Yards, he kind of gave him that 12 strikeout performance. Well, not as many strikeouts, but again, equally as dominating. And it's just good to see Nestor, again, because he's not the type of guy that throws like a 98, stuff like that. Kind of just gets you out with sort of, using craftiness and high 80s and low 90s stuff, and just it's just fun seeing him out there on the mound. Only problem with the Yankees, kind of continuation of the doublehead before that, weren't giving much run support at all. Now they did load the bases in the bottom of the 5th inning, but unfortunately weren't able to do anything with that. And it wasn't until later on in the game the Yankees were able to scratch 1 run across, thanks to a fly by Rizzo, but we'll get into that. But in the 8th inning, Boone did have a big decision to make, because at the point, Nestor Cortes had pitched 7 innings. His pitch count was up to 97. Again, it's very early in the season where you're not going to let a starting pitcher go that long. So Boone was in a bit of a bad spot. Like, yeah, you want him to go out there and get the no-hitter, but also at the same time, you don't want a situation where his arm gets hurt and then he has to be shut down for a couple of weeks. Remember some cases like that. Even with the Yankees last year, with Corey Kluber threw a no-hitter, great. Didn't throw as many pitches. I think he had maybe about 88 pitches. But I guess all the stress of getting up and down, up and down, up and down for 9 innings and warming up like that. Well, after that no-hitter against Texas, he was pretty much done for the season in terms of being an effective pitcher. Yeah, he came back later on, had that one start against the Mets at Citi Field, but was pretty much done after that for the season. And of course, wasn't available at all pretty much after that. So you push a pitcher too much, it does have some bad after effects. And of course, we remember with the Mets and Johan Santana. Again, Terry Francona at the time let him go out there for 137 pitches, and then afterwards he was pretty much done for the season and done for his career. So it's kind of a risky thing when you let these pitches go too long, especially this early part of the season. So Nestor Cortes did finally give up a single in the top of the 8th, and it was almost a little bit of relief. I'm sure Boone, in a way, wanted that to happen, so he just have an excuse to take him out, which he did take him out, and we'll put in Clay Holmes to finish out the inning. And then for the Yankees, in the bottom of that frame, finally pushed a run across. And it was kind of a fluky thing. Now, how the inning started off was kind of weird. DJ LeMahieu hit a little ground ball to first and didn't exactly hustle. It was kind of a little embarrassing for him. Now the Rangers fielded the ball and he was called out. But again, if he kind of ran hard out of the box, good chance he might have been able to at least be on first base there. So kind of a boo-boo for DJ. And again, a very professional guy. You never really have a problem with DJ. But for the fact that he kind of didn't hustle there, really a bad look for him. But lucky for him, after him was Judge. Judge got a single through the shortstop hole, got on first base. And this was a bit of a fluky play I mentioned by Rizzo. So he hits a fly ball to left field, which normally should have been a normal fly out. There was nothing. It wasn't like he smoked it or anything like that. But I guess the defense was playing for him to pull, which is kind of weird because he had 2 strikes on him. And usually 2 strikes, a left-handed hitter is going to kind of go opposite field a little bit just to protect the plate. So kind of a bizarre situation. So it was a fly ball that normally shouldn't have caught, but kind of dunked in, and a good read by Judge, saw it the whole way, ran from first to home. Again, not bad for a big guy, and put the Yankees ahead 1-0. Again, that would ultimately be the final score. Now, in the ninth inning, got a little dicey there a bit. Had to bring out Chapman, who, again, hadn't pitched in almost 7 days before that. And, a lot of these pitchers are creatures of habit, especially these bullpen guys. And, if they don't get much work, they kind of lose their field, lose their strike zone. So, and with Chapman, he's had that problem in the past with the Yankees, so you kind of worry a little bit with him on the mound. Now, first batter he faced, fly out to Judge to right field, but the batter put a pretty good swing on it. Now, it took Judge to the warning track. He was able to feel the ball, but it was very windy at Yankee Stadium. Perhaps kept the ball from going out. Very close from being a home run, which would have been a disaster. Second up was Seager, got him to fly out from Hicks, but even Hicks battled the sun to get that catch. It almost looked like it possibly might have been dropped in. And then finally, the last, also a fly out to end the game, a fly ball to left field by Gallo, and even Gallo struggled, had to go near the warning track. Almost looks like that afternoon sun was wreaking havoc, but he was able to make the play and then close the game out, and the Yankees had the 1-0 lead and then took the game 2-3. But a little dicey there in that ninth inning, and it could have been a situation where, again, luckily that one run from Rizzo stood up, and Chapman, okay, he was effective, he got the save, good, but he wasn't razor sharp. And again, this goes to show, if you give these bullpen guys too many days off and they come out there, it's a little risky thing. So let's look at the good, bad, and ugly of the series. Not so much you would say ugly, but there were some bad things to point out. Obviously, as I mentioned before, you don't like the idea that DJ wasn't hustling out of the box, as well as even before that, early in the game, Josh Donaldson also had a situation where he didn't actually run out a ball, so you don't like to see that, especially from two veteran players. You can almost understand a little bit with Donaldson, just because he's a bit of a clunky guy. He's 36 years old, so you can understand a little bit. But DJ should know a little bit better. Again, he's just a consummate pro, and for him to just jog out like that, unless he has an injury or tweaked his ankle or something early in the game, that's very un-DJ-like. And Boone, no one had to really say anything to him. I'm sure he sees it himself, and hopefully that doesn't happen again. And also, kind of overall, not happy with the Yankee offense during the series. And you do have to tip your hat to the Texas pitching, especially Brock Burke in the final game. Again, coming into a big bases-loaded situation and getting a couple of strikeouts. So sometimes he's got to tip your cap to the opposing team. But still, the Yankee offense, which had been clicking pretty much overall up to that point of the Texas series, just didn't even show up for those 3 games. Maybe, I don't know, it could have been from the rain, 2 games off from the rain delay. Maybe just, get a little cold a little bit, and, that could be part of the reason. We don't know, but again, you just don't like that. And specifically Anthony Rizzo, who got off to a great start to the season. Lately, he's kind of tailed off a little bit. Again, you're still happy with the production. He's got the 9 home runs and all of that. But again, a little lately, he's been a little bit coldish with the bat. So hopefully he could get it going again, just kind of continue for the great start of the season. But again, a lot of bright spots for this series, mainly the pitching. Of course, with Garrett Cole, 3rd strong performance in a row. Again, really put the anxieties early on in the season when he just didn't look like himself. Very dominating, getting a lot of strikeouts, attacking the zone. Again, looking like the Cole that we've known here as a Yankee in his previous 2 seasons. And of course, the Nestor Cortez story continues. Again, 8 brilliant innings of at least, 7 innings of no-hit baseball, but at least take it into the 8th inning. But again, a little good news in a way that he didn't have to go. Boone didn't have to decide to take him out longer because, this early in the season, you don't want your pitchers pitching 120, 130 pitches per game just this early. Usually they have to after that, they have to be shut down to go in the IL, and you don't want that. So at least Cortez will have that, be effective and put Boone in a situation where after only 104 pitches, was able to yank him out. And again, overall, you bummed out and you get the no-hitter, but it's just for the best thing for everybody. Good that he was able to get out of there and not have to risk any arm injury like that. And for the Yankees, again, 28 games in, looking good right now. The first American League team to reach 20 wins at 20-8, and it seems like they like their home cooking. 12-4 home at the stadium, so that's always good news. Again, if the Yankees just take advantage of the stadium, why not? And if you get those little Gleyber Torres home runs over the wall, so be it. And if you just look at some of the stats of the Yankees compared to other teams right now, first in the American League in slugging percentage at .142. as well as second in team ERA with 2.60. So when you're slugging and you're pitching good, you're going to win a lot of games. So that's a lot of good news for the Yankees. Beating the Texas Rangers is nice, but it's even nicer if you sign up for the Section 420 Talkin Yankees podcast. And wherever you go to get your podcasts, get additional content through the week, get wrap-ups, news, notes, rants, the whole that. So wherever you get your podcast, look it up, Section 420 Talkin Yankees. Subscribe, get notified when new content goes up. Hey, look, they're finally cutting the grass. Now back to the Yankees. Now, the series before this, the Yankees were up in Toronto at the Rogers Center against the Toronto Blue Jays. Not going to get into all the details of that, little past history, but there were some big key takeaways, important things to point out about that. First of all, we weren't sure if all the Yankees were vaccinated. Again, Canada had very tough lockdown laws, and obviously the Yankees wouldn't be able to travel, the players wouldn't be able to travel there unless they were vaccinated. And we weren't sure if all the players were vaccinated. It was kind of, obviously Rizzo seemed like he wasn't. He had there was a bit of a cancer issue a couple of seasons ago, and because of that, maybe for some reason he didn't want to take the vaccine. And if you read between the lines, it also seemed that Judge wasn't vaccinated. And, it was a situation where, like, hey, look, you're playing these games in Toronto, up in there, you need all your best players available, and Judge and Rizzo doesn't get better than that. So if those two players aren't available, that's kind of a big thing, especially because, you're playing a handful of games up there, and it's a team that you're going to be competing against in the AL East. Well, it turns out either at some point they did get vaccinated, someone must have gotten to the ear, or because they made the decision themselves. Now, before the series started, Boone was like, don't worry, we'll be fine. Well, we didn't really know what that meant. Does that mean maybe not all players are going to travel, some are going to stay home, we'll have a backup plan? But no, Rizzo and Judge did make the trip, so it kind of shows that, yes, I guess all the players were vaccinated, made the right decision. Again, you kind of need those players available because there's a lot more baseball left up in Toronto. And for the series itself, it was important for the Yankees. Toronto came here early in the season for a 4-game set. They split the games 2-2. Really, the Yankees should have won 3 out of the 4 games. But as at the time, the Yankees seemed to be meandering a little bit, and the offense wasn't clicking, and kind of seemed dullish. And again, before the season started, everyone was kind of picking the Toronto Blue Jays to win the AL East. I picked the Yankees. You go back and check the footage on that one. And this series was important for the Yankees because it kind of shows, like, yes, at this point, they are the team in the AL East. I mean, obviously, it's pretty obvious right now. But even before, at that time, the Yankees really made a statement in there, taking 2 out of 3 games. Not just taking 2 out of 3 games, but the Yankee pitching completely shut down what was supposed to be, a stupendous Toronto Blue Jay offense. The starters were brilliant. The bullpen was great. And they didn't even use Cole. They didn't use Severino. So it was almost like the back 3 of the Yankee starting rotation of Monty, Taillon, and Cortez was pretty much able, with the help of the bullpen, pretty much shut down the Toronto offense in their own ballpark. And it was just a good statement game for the Yankees. And yeah, they lost that last game, but it was only a 1-0 loss, so it wasn't like one team killed the other. It's only held the Toronto offense to 1 run. Okay, it was good enough for them to win the game. And it was a situation, if you remember, in the bottom of that 9th inning, the Yankees had bases loaded. That little dribbler to Matt Chapman, we barely got kind of fluff at first base, just by a nose. Could have been a situation where the Yankees could have tied the game, or if that ball gets bobbed a little bit, go ahead and put a few runs up on the board. But still, to go in there, take 2 out of 3, but in a dominating fashion, pretty much shut down the offense. Was a good, message of a good message game for the Yankees against the Blue Jays. And again, if this is going to be the way the Yankees are for the whole season, they'll be in really good shape. Now, as we mentioned at the top of this audio-video simulcast episode, that we're going to take a little closer look at Gleyber Torres, who coming into the season, you almost felt like it was like his last chance. I guess they had it enough with Gary Sanchez, shipped him out, and both Sanchez and Gleyber Torres had been struggling the past couple of seasons. Kind of mysterious. Again, their first, sniffs with the Yankees were very brilliant, and then 2020 and 2021 were not good for both Sanchez and Torres. Well, they shipped out Sanchez, and you feel like, all right, they're going to give Torres one more shot here, and he would really need to have a great season. So overall, if you look at his numbers, 228, 5 home runs, 13 RBIs. Doesn't really jump off at you that much, but Luis Gleyber Torres been having some bright spots this season where now you finally feel a little bit more confident in him. Again, had the walk-off hit against Clase in the Cleveland Guardian game, again, the beer-throwing game. Had that moment. Then, of course, the first game in Toronto up in the Rogers Center, responsible for all 3 Yankee runs, which gave him the 3-2 victory, had a 2-run home run. And then later in the game, an RBI double that scored Tim Locastro and gave the Yankees the 3-2 edge, and they would win the game 3-2. And of course, the most recently here at the stadium against the Texas Rangers in that opening game of the doubleheader, the game-winning home run, which just went over the wall in the Little League ballpark, gave the Yankees. So so you're looking at 2 walk-off wins and being responsible for all runs in a victory against the AL East foe Toronto Blue Jays. So some good moments for Gleyber Torres, and now it's a situation where when he comes up now, you do feel a little more confident in a big spot for him. Again, the past couple of seasons, when he would up, you would just almost wait for that strikeout now. Again, the batting average is not great, but, you see him coming through in some of these big situations, so it seems like Gleyber's turning it around a little bit. And, of course, playing some good defense at second base. Again, when they moved him to shortstop the past couple of seasons, he was struggling there, and it seems like Pops, he took those struggles to the plate. So maybe this season now a little bit more stable defensively and a little bit better at bat, in some of these clutch situations. And, again, for Gleyber Torres, it felt like it was almost like his last opportunity, where if he didn't have a good season this year, maybe by midway they would have traded him, or at the end of the year they would have kind of like Sanchez shipped him off the island. So you might have noticed lately there's a lot of balking between players and umpires, managers and umpires over the strike zone. I mean, this is, timeless in baseball. It's gone back, into the 1920s. I mean, Babe Ruth slugged a couple of umpires. But it seems like we're getting really tested right now, and I think there's a lot going on. So I'm going to break it down, just kind of my take on the whole thing, what's going on, between the umpires and the players and also, the managers. Everyone's getting a little bit testy here over the strike zone. So as you might have saw, Kyle Schwarber going nuts on Angel Hernandez because, Angel Hernandez has like the worst strike zone in baseball, and that's kind of well known. The problem is with the umpire union, you really can't fire the guy, and you're almost kind of stuck with him. But really had a really bad game, and Kyle Schwarber absolutely flipped out on him. We've never seen anything like that before, and we're kind of seeing things we've never seen before, so it's kind of weird what's going on, really. More of a societal issue. But again, if you didn't see it, basically Kyle Schwarber took exception to Angel Hernandez's strike zone, and he's went on this big diatribe and this, very animated, hey, you blew every call like that, blah, 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 blah. So that was kind of big news at the time. Now, separately from that, you had the situation with Madison Bumgarner, the now Arizona Diamondback pitcher. Had a situation where he wasn't happy with a strike zone with the umpire in the first inning. Kind of balked at the umpire. So as you know, with the whole substance thing now, every time a pitcher walks off the field, the umpire kind of checks the belt, checks things, checks the glove for any sort of substance like that. Well, this umpire was kind of weird. He kind of rubbed his hand. It was just kind of, and it wasn't even looking at the hand. It was kind of looking Madison Bumgarner in the face, and it was just kind of a weird thing. So really what the umpire was doing was just kind of messing with him because he was upset that he balked at the home plate umpire. So kind of getting his revenge. He was like, all right, I'm just going to weirdly touch your hand. And the whole thing was kind of strange. Bumgarner just flipped out like that, had to be held restrained back, looked like he wanted to kill the umpire. Again, two big outbursts in a short period of time that we haven't seen before. And then we've seen it with our own Aaron Boone. Again, up at the Toronto series, a situation where Boone was screaming with the umpire because they called a low strike on Judge, which always happens, that he's 6'7", and the umpire's like, yeah, I know that. It wouldn't strike even if he was 6'8", and Boone ended up getting thrown out of the game. So again, seeing a lot of animosity now between players and umpires, umpires and managers. Again, you've always seen that in baseball. We've seen Earl Weaver kick dirt. We've seen Lou Piniella kick dirt, so it's not like a new thing. But it seems getting a little bit more vicious now. So I'm going to break down just the bigger picture with all this stuff there. First of all, I think it's a bit of a society issue. I don't know if it's from COVID, people being locked down for a couple of years, and maybe just a lot of the crime you're seeing across the country where people just think they can do whatever they want. I mean, so the issue here at Yankee Stadium, where in that Saturday game, the fans were throwing beers at the Cleveland Guardian outfielders. I mean, it's kind of messed up. I mean, we never really seen something that vicious, in quite a while. And then, of course, you have the outburst by Schwarber, kind of going over the hill. Okay, again, you're always mad at umpire. You just kind of say, hey, that's a bad call. You maybe curse a little bit, but that's it. You don't go in this big animated diatribe. Same thing with Madison Bumgarner, where you need to be restrained. You look like you want to kill an umpire. So I think some of it's just the way society is right now. It's just a lot of lawlessness going on, and it's carrying over to the players. It's carrying over to the fans, and that's just kind of why you're seeing these big outbursts. And from the umpire side, I think there's a little more animosity now with the checking of the substance of the pitches every time after an inning. I think it's just creating a little conflict because you're almost like accusing a pitcher of cheating without accusing them. Hey, you had a great inning. Let me see your glove. You're probably cheating. And I just think, even though it's part of the rules, they have to do it anyway, I just think it's creating an animosity between players and umpires. So I think they should remove that rule, but Rob Manfred should just get rid of that rule. I know you don't want players using spider tack and other types of grips, but it's creating an animosity. And it's just kind of awkward just to see a pitcher come off the mound and an umpire just run up to him and check his boots and check his belt and stuff like that. It's just kind of weird. I think it's just go back to the previous rule of, hey, look, if you're going to use a grip, just be smart with it. Put it somewhere where no one's going to see it, and because again, most batters actually, they don't mind the grip because they say, look, I want a pitcher with control out there. I don't want someone whose ball's going to slip and hit me in the head. And again, this season we've seen a lot of players hit by balls, especially the Mets. Everyone loves hitting the Mets for some reason. A lot of that probably because they don't have the grips, and I think a lot of batters prefer having the grip. So even if it's to their detriment, the batters would probably rather have the grip. So why not keep it? So they should just get rid of that searching rule. So I think that would help it through. And another thing too, I think umpires are also a little bit. I think they're on the defense a little bit because if you look at the whole replay thing, kind of takes their power away. Again, baseball used to be the umpire's final call was that's it. They make the call and that's it. Now with the replay, their decisions could be reversed, and it's almost an embarrassment to them that they blew a call. And some of these calls are blown really bad. So I think it's embarrassing umpires a little bit on that end. So I think there's some animosity on that side. And now of course around the corner they're talking about the automated strike zone, which hey, in the future we might see it. I don't want to see it. I just think it should be, even though it hurts players like Judge get low strikes called on them, but I think the spontaneity of the umpire for home plate is good for baseball. I don't want a situation where we have to wait for the call, even if it's instant. It's just kind of there's no momentum built up there. It's almost like, if you're watching a football game now, someone scores a touchdown, you cheer, but it's like all touchdowns are automatically reviewed, and you have to wait till the final word is given. It's like, all right, so it's like the crowd's happy, then you're settled, you wait for the final word, then you can be happy again. Kind of kills that whole spontaneity of the thing, so I don't want an automated strike zone, but I think umpires sense that could be in the future to them, even for them. And if that's the case, it's almost like, why do you need umpires at all? You could probably have some sort of automation to call, if someone's out at home plate or second base and stuff like that. So umpires are kind of being marginalized a little bit, and I think that's part of the animosity on their end. So again, I think he's have lawlessness in society, which is spilling over into the baseball field, and players are doing crazy things, fans are doing crazy things, and of course I think umpires now feel like their backs against the wall just because technology is kind of replacing their job, and again they're getting defensive of it. So I don't know where what the solution is, but I think they should, at least Rob Manfred, get rid of the whole checking people's equipment after each inning. I think that would lessen some of the intensity of that, and of course I would say no to an automatic strike zone, because that's just totally taking the umpire's role out of the game. And umpires are part of the game of baseball, even though they can be frustrating sometimes. They make the game. They're just part of the charm of baseball, same as Yankee Stadium, Bright Field, same way as the Green Monster at Fenway Park. Again, they're part of the game, so I would say just that would be the solution, just to calm everything down. So there you have it. Things are very good in Yankee land at 20-8 at the first 28 games in the season, and 12-4 at home cooking, which is where you want to be. Clearly the best team in the AL East right now, so a lot of bright spots for the Yankees, not too much to complain about, and that's where you want to be. Starting pitching has been spectacular, and Nestor Cortez seems like he is the real deal. Last year wasn't a fluke, clearly proving that. And Garrett Cole, the ace is back, 3 strong performances in a row, so it looks like the starting pitching is pretty solid. Tyone's been good, Monty's been good, so the whole staff has been great for the Yankees. Bullpen's been fabulous overall. Clay Holmes has really come on. So again, not really much to complain about there. Offense overall has been good. This Texas series not so great, but overall for the season so far, you like this Yankee offense way more than last season, where it was like pulling teeth to score runs. At least this year, a little bit more versatile. At least kind of fluffer on the bases a little bit. He'll try to lay down a bunt once in a while. He's a speedster. Tries to steal a bag as well. You got Tim LaCastro, also another speedster, stealing bags. Again, stuff the Yankees haven't been able to do in past seasons. You got a roster right now that could do those sort of things, so you like to see that. And of course, I mentioned before, Gleyber Torres looks like he's kind of rounded into his old form. The Gleyber Torres we remember maybe from 2018, 2019, resembling that Gleyber Torres more than the Gleyber Torres of the past 2 seasons, which were, was a bit of a struggle there. So looks like we're finally getting our Gleyber back, and again, getting some clutch hits. So things are very good in Yankees land, as well as the Mets as well. They also reached 20 games, the first team to do that in the National League. So both teams are doing great right now. It's just it seems like the Yankees are overshadowing them just a little bit just because of the New York Yankees, and it's always great to stick it to the Mets that way. So they're having a great season, but really not getting much attention. That's great. I'll take that as a Yankee fan. So again, if you haven't done it already, wherever you go to get your podcast, look for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Get additional content only available for podcast subscribers. So if you don't subscribe, you don't get those notifications. You're not going to get that because it won't be available on YouTube, won't be available on TV, only for podcast subscribers. So make sure you subscribe. Check it out.